years. And Stevie Wonder said, we need to pause. We need a 4 or 5 year situation where we could freeze everything, get everything into perspective. And I'm sitting back like saying, man, it must be terrible. And I'm talking about Stevie Wonder. It must be terrible because even a blind man could see it. No pun intended. And I'm sure Stevie Wonder understands that joke. But my point is, we're living in a time where, these are illusions. Like they say, it's going to be a war with images. And so we can't fall for these images, like the images of Joe Biden signing that bill when the world know who he is. He's Jim Crow Joe. He was on the opposite side of history all the way up until signing that bill. That's when they say the devil can only set you up for a blessing. Like I said, I'm not calling Joe Biden a devil. I'm calling the acts of his political career the 94 crime bill. When he said that he want us in chains, before a black man kills you, your son or your daughter, we don't care about rehabilitation. We want them in jail. Passed the 94 crime bill, passed the Senate 101-0. Even the vice president at the time wanted some of that. So, and then we have a president who thinks that it's okay to put a bill in American history, because I know he's not a scholar or elitist when it comes to education. So I don't think he really knew the damage that this would do. I don't think he realized that the other presidents didn't touch it, because one thing that he did say, and this is one of the things that a lot of black men felt that the election switched in the tide of Joe Biden. Not that they hid Hunter Biden's story, the November surprise about the laptop, not about the all the offshore accounts and money and all of these things that he was doing as a vice president. Could care less about that. It was at the debate where they asked Joe Biden about Antifa. And Joe Biden said the perfect answer at the time, because we all know that Antifa is real. Joe Biden said Antifa is an ideal. And I was like, dang, he got past it. And then when they asked Trump about the Proud Boys, Trump said, stand by and stand back. And a lot of black men fell off the Trump train at that time. And basically, this was the reason why they said, they tell me even to this day, that's where he messed up at. Because he should have had a little more game and said a little more slicker, a little more, wink, wink, but not so far open. Stand by, boys, and stand back. That was really a slap in our face. And that was the biggest mistake that he made. And that became the actual November surprise, because a lot of people said that's why he lost the election. A lot of people say he cheated, but at least they got something on record that can actually, go in Joe Biden's favor. And my point in bringing it up is when he said that Antifa was an ideal, that's the approach that all of the prior presidents and anybody that was involved over the 1,200 years, they basically just left it alone. Lynching is an ideal. But this president, Joe Biden, he signed a bill and put it into law. And we're not supposed to talk about it. We're not supposed to understand that this is slow pitch softball, that they're throwing us, pitches and underhand softball pitches that we can actually hit out the park with minimum effort. Just keep your eye on the ball, swing through, and you're going to basically swing and hit a home run. So these things are real and tangible. So a lot of times when you are focused, just as a better Black America is becoming a brand and, becoming a social situation that can actually rival the Urban League, NAACP, things that were meant for us, but not for us. We're looking to fix and right some wrongs in a sense of correcting wrongs. And Joe Biden, his administration clearly listened in on our conversation, because somehow they're taking our lead and doing things that they think will make us happy, but it's basically just make us really understand. Because just like the 11 cabinet members, the mass exodus from Kamala Harris's staff, there's going to be a mass exodus with the two-party system coming in 2024 for the presidential because the Democratic Party as a whole has pretty much confused everybody that's a part of that party. Because if you look at the debates and really paid attention to the politics, Trump's looking like a prophet. You can look at some of his tapes. You want Biden, you're going to have higher gas. A vote for Biden means higher gas prices. A vote for Biden means higher food prices. A vote for Biden, means higher crime. A vote for Biden means less security when it comes to our borders. A vote for Biden will mean no regulation when it comes to the opioids. So let's leave Afghanistan and let's not have no southern border and bring in all the drugs. A vote for Biden mean more fentanyl deaths. A vote for Biden mean more murders. And this is factual information. So how can we vote or continue to vote for a person or an entity or a political party that actually, based on the science, is exactly what was predicted by his opponent? Now, they call Donald Trump 45. So I'm kind of thinking that we're going to have to start calling Biden 46. Because he is not the president of the United States. He's the president of the United Allies. And he's the president of the United Nations and the globe. Democratic Party, Democratic rule, crack to rule. Democracy. Look at what's going on. Look at all the aid that they're sending Ukraine, and Russia's still pushing the line. Why is this? A lot of people, I wouldn't say a lot of people, but some Harvard scholars, North and South Campus, believe that this is something that's it's a distraction. But a lot of the commentators on the elite levels when it comes to the politics don't believe that Ukraine could sustain Russia. And they already put it out on record that Biden declared war on Putin when he said that he cannot or no longer remain in power. This is why you're starting to see more civilian deaths. He said that. And then he came back and said, no, I didn't. But he's sending aid to Ukraine in numbers that we can't even imagine. And as American citizens praying for peace in Ukraine, what about praying for peace here in America? What's wrong with dealing with our domestic issues? Why do we feel like we got to police the world when we have issues here? There's human rights violations here in America. There's a crisis going on in America with mental illness, with homelessness. And then there's a group of racial components that somehow has been purposely fixated and being made to be disarray and not connected. And then we have to look at our president signing a hairdo act, which is a crown act. And this one right here, the whole purpose of me talking to you today is HR 55, the Emmett Till Antilynching Bill. Anti-lynching bill 2022. And then you wonder, it was bipartisan. Yeah, because the Republicans are smart. Yes, we're going to make sure we vote this bill. We make this bill become law. So now that we can have the conversation about which party is the worst of the two evils. Because when Jim Clyburn, the congressman from South Carolina, said, we know Joe, Joe know us, that man basically said the devil we know beats the devil we don't know. And that's what that meant. So clearly the devil we know in this situation does not, no pun intended, does not trump the devil that we don't know. We know more about Trump than we know about Biden. Trump was a regular human being until he became president and ran this country like a business and had us basically about to come off the ground and start flying high like America you're supposed to be, like our mascot, the eagle. But for some strange reason, we was grounded by some pigeons, the pigeon party, the party of slavery, the party of Jim Crow, the party that defended segregation, the party that pulled the trigger on Abraham Lincoln, who emancipated the slaves at the time. And people who say it wasn't slaves, then why is there an anti-lynching Emmett Till bill? That's a slavery bill. So in 2022, Joe Biden just really destroyed anybody that's, writing memoirs or opinions when it comes to critical race theory. You're done. You're done. If you're talking about career-ending move, you're thinking I can sign this bill and they're going to love me. No, you signed this bill and basically you showed us who you are. So basically, this race is for the soul of America. This is why they needed you in there, because you basically aided in abetting our oppression. And then now in your mind, you thinking you liberating us, but we see exactly what we see. And we're going to call it what it is. If it walk like a duck, act like a duck, quack like a duck, it's a duck. So you go on and duck walk all for the rest of the next 3 years of your campaign because you have lost your good economic. You wanted the soul of America. You got the old of America, because the next generation is here and we're using this energy to right the wrongs of democratic past. And I'm going to say this again. To right the wrongs of democratic past. Now, we know that racial issues when it comes to white against black has no political party as a whole. You got white Democratic liberal racists. You got white Republican racists. So this is why we cannot be tarred and feathered in between the two rivaling tribes. And we have to raise a standard to the point where they will give us the respect that we deserve, because we can do and accomplish things that they could never do or accomplish. And we do have all of these things on record. We got pyramids. We got whole countries and worlds built. We got a whole Atlantic slave trade that took blacks down to South America to build up South American Brazil. We got all up in Mexico, all up in the United States. We have been distributed all over the world because clearly you needed the 9 series DNA people to actually build the world. If not, you could have did it without us. You could have did it without us. But now that we're looking at the world as a whole, things are deeper than what we think of. And I know I'm switching gears real quick, but I'm going to go ahead and just really tap into why Ukraine is so special. Now, while I was looking for HR 55, looking up the bill so I can actually know the date that it was signed into law and then read the fine print. And I'm not going to bore you with the fine print because there are some things in there, some loopholes in there. Remember, I told you only the dark side deals in loopholes. There's a whole bunch of loopholes in there. And they're talking about anti-lynching could be in a form of kidnapping, terrorist threats. So I'm just stop right there. I don't want to scare you. But the big picture and the reason why Ukraine is so important. And I'm going to say this because I saw a bill. I'm not going to speak on it right now because it's actually has been introduced. So it hasn't become law because they have to be introduced, Congress, Senate, the president, he signs it. Now it goes into law in that order. But this bill is to send more money and more aid to Zelensky to create, are you ready for this? A semiconductor supply chain. A bill has been introduced to put foreign aid in the pockets of Zelensky so America can create, and this is a bill introduced by Congress, a semiconductor supply chain in the country of Ukraine. And I'm sitting back like, wow. There has to be humans who are really not, looking to fall for the okie doke. That's actually looking and searching and trying to find things to basically help us understand. Now, just because you see somebody on some major network or television doesn't mean that they're superior. It means that the person who owns the station found somebody that can actually tell us how they feel. Because they actually read scripts. Like I said, if you work for any television station, that's not your own opinion. I've seen news anchors read teleprompters and they read it and slow it down and say that's not right, but they read it anyway. We are being hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, and this is why we're running them up. And it's being orchestrated by fear and confusion.